If you use platforms like eBay and Vinted to make extra income, there's something Martin Lewis just talked about that you really need to know. And this is something that you will need to know by the 31st of January 2025.
Warning.
So as of January last year, 2024, platforms like Airbnb, Uber, eBay and Vinted started collecting data of sales on their platforms. And as of the end of this month, the 31st of January 2025, they are automatically reporting that income straight to HMRC. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the key important facts that you need to know and trying to dispel some common misconceptions and give you just the actual data, raw information to stop scaremongering and misinformation getting out around this. As of January 2024, HMRC started collecting data from platforms like eBay, Vinted, Airbnb and Uber. But what Martin Lewis has recently talked about on TV is that by the 31st of January 2025, it is mandatory for platforms such as those to report said user earnings directly to HMRC. So at the end of the video, I'll insert a little clip of Martin Lewis describing this. But as far as I can tell, this is as follows. So this affects you in eBay's example. If you sell more than 30 items, so 30 individual listings a year, or if you earn around £1,700 plus annually on these platforms. Now, what I mean by that is at that point, eBay will automatically report you as a user directly to HMRC. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll have to pay tax. So what does this mean in terms of taxes? So the rules haven't actually changed. The rules are still the same. And tax only applies if you're what is called a trader or trading. Now that means that you're purposefully going out there to buy items at car boot sales, at charity shops, to then intentionally resell online for profit. Now if you're selling your own stuff, such as clothes that you've bought, you've wore, perhaps you put on a bit of weight over Christmas, they no longer fit you, you're selling them. Or if you've got items, photography items that you've bought, you're not really into that hobby anymore, you sell them on in 6 months to a year. That's your own stuff. That's okay to sell. And the key thing about that if you're not trading, casual selling isn't taxed, but you may be contacted by HMRC to kind of check that if you, as I said, go over those 30 items a year or over that set value. But if you are selling your own stuff, then it is okay. Now, I personally always thought that if you went over a certain amount, even selling your own stuff, that you were taxed. But it appears, according to the HMRC website, which I'll link below, and this Martin Lewis segment, that there doesn't seem to be like any tax on that as long as it's your own items, which is kind of a bit of a weird grey area, really, if you think about it. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that are intentionally buying stuff at charity shops, at car boot sales, at antiques fairs, and buying them specifically to put on eBay to make a profit. Extra income. Certainly in this economy, people do need that extra income. Now, if you are doing that, unfortunately, you are a trader. Whether you do it an hour a month or, almost full time, you are still a trader. Traders, the annual allowance is £1,000 in the UK, and that covers all the platforms combined, so across all the platforms. If you earn over that amount, and that includes selling fees, you are required to pay tax on your profits. Now, you have your own personal allowance, which it isn't appropriate to go to within this video, but at that point, really, you should be doing self-assessment through the tax office. So for most people, this might potentially be blown out of proportion and scaremongered into don't sell stuff on eBay, you're going to be contacted by the tax office. And I just wanted to kind of try and clear that up, because even myself, I've been confused by this. So what should you do now? It's only going to be reported directly after the end of this month when I'm recording this. So anything you've done in the last year, kind of don't worry about it. But what is good sort of practice really is get a little book and write down all the sales that you had, just for peace of mind. In case you get a letter from HMRC, write down what it is, how much it sold for. If you are selling it for yourself, even if you're selling it for yourself, because you can say, look, I sold this blouse here. It was one of my own. I didn't buy it to resell. You've got a paper trail, and from that you can kind of gauge where you are in terms of, like, if you're under the criteria. Now, what I don't know is that year a rolling year or is it in a financial year? That I'm not too sure of. And if I do have an update for that, I will make a subsequent video. Now, if you are a trader, do go and seek some advice from an accountant. I'd highly recommend Bofix. I'll link to them in the description below. But there are loads of free services out there where you can get a free 10-minute chat with an accountant just to see if their services are appropriate and if you're in the right place and essentially doing the right things. So I think the people this is going to affect the most is, to be honest, a lot of video game sellers. I certainly know a lot which are upgrading their own collection. They're going out and buying items from the car boot sale to sell online, which will then fund other items in their collection. But because it's like a weird grey area, are they then going to take them to CEX? Because are CEX going to be reporting it to HMRC? I don't know about that. That's quite a good question. And how do vouchers factor into that? Is that money earned? There's a lot of weird grey areas with this. I think it's also going to affect a lot of people who do clothes flipping on Vinted. I know some of the clothing wholesalers at the moment are really pushing do you want to generate some side income by buying a bale and selling it on Vinted? Now, if you're doing that, you're a trader. So unfortunately, you probably now it's going to be a bit more tricky. But as I said, I'm no tax authority in any way, shape or form. So if you are worried, go and seek some professional advice, because there is a threshold where you're not going to pay tax under that threshold. So doing a self-assessment isn't too bad. It's not the scary thing that it used to be, especially with software like QuickBooks. I'm not sponsored by them, but certainly it's not as intimidating as it once was. So that's it, really. Are you impacted by this, do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. How do you feel about this? Do you think this is a bit of a nothing burger and not much is going to happen? It's just interesting how this lines up as well with the free listings for personal sellers, particularly on eBay, which is the kind of slant that I've coming at it with, really. Let me know, because I'm not really sure. For me, it's not going to make any difference at all. But I think for people who perhaps, I'm kind of trying to think of, like, perhaps, I don't know, a single mother who's got a small job and then wants to earn a bit extra on the side, or someone who's older, perhaps doesn't want to work as much, wants to flip antiques. You know, people who've got, they go to antique fairs and buy and flip jewellery online. I think it's going to affect those sort of people. Let me know anyway, I'd be interested. So I hope this has been useful to try and clear up some stuff, and I will now insert this little clip of what Martin Lewis said during his programme, just to kind of back up what I was saying.
For over about £1,700 a year. But crucially, the tax rules have not changed. Tax is only due for those who are traders. That is people who are deliberately buying stuff in order to sell it for a profit, or building and repairing it in order to sell it for a profit. Not producer Alex, who was telling me she cleared out a wardrobe and was worried. You cleared out your wardrobe, it's your stuff, you didn't buy it for profit, you're absolutely fine. Now,
so yeah, interesting stuff. Sorry about the dodgy quality of that, it's just recording off the TV. So if you like this kind of video, do check out this one here. And if you're not subscribed, if you want to learn more about selling on eBay, selling on Amazon, and all things about generating side income, drop me a subscription. And if not, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.